Schwant, open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. Board members present, John Schwant, Shirley Sanders by phone, June Miller, Lee Franson, and Ben Newell. Absent, none.
Kathy, will you put that microphone in front of you, please?
Citizens present. Is that better?
Yep.
That's a lot better.
Andy Knapp, Mr. and Mrs. Bassett, Vicki Douglas, John Kane, and Robin Paulson. Motion, Franson, second, Miller, to approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2020 meeting. Motion passed. Old business, none. New business, none. Supervisor's annual report, working on road ideas, including striping on streets. Annual report of the assessor, Board of Review showed about 10 people protesting. Annual report of the Planning Commission discussed the progress of wind energy. Annual report from the zoning administrator, report not offered due to wife being ill. Fire Department annual report, Schwant reported that there would be 2 new tenders coming to the Lakeview Fire District before the end of the year. Public comment about salaries for elected officials. Salaries were read and heard comment from the audience about the amounts. There were no increases asked for by the board and none offered. It was suggested that the salaries of the deputies and supervisor be looked at next year for raises. Resolution, Franson, second, Newell to accept the salaries for supervisor at $7,800, clerk $15,000, and treasurer $11,500, and trustee $1,200. Yes, Schwant, Franson, Sanders, Miller, Newell, noes, none, absent, none. Resolution passed. Any other business? None. Motion, Franson, second, Newell to adjourn and go into the budget hearing at 10:10 a.m. Motion passed. Budget hearing. Motion, Franson, second, Newell to open the budget hearing at 10:10 a.m. Motion passed. Reviewed budget and asked for public comment and none was heard. Questions about line items were heard. Motion, Franson, second, Newell to adopt the budget as presented. Motion passed. Motion, Franson, second, Newell to close the budget hearing at 10:20 a.m. Motion passed. Annual meeting. Motion, Franson, second, Newell to resume the annual meeting at 10:20 a.m. Motion passed. Discuss cleanup day being offered for the township with a committee being formed to look into cost and details. Motion, Kane, second, Bassett to form a committee with Douglas, Bassett, Kane, and Paulson to look into the cost of township-wide cleanup day. Motion passed. Also discuss township-wide trash curbside pickup with additional millage to pay. Same committee will review and bring to the board in June information that they received for both cleanup day and township-wide trash collection. Motion, Franson, second, Miller to approve the presented meeting dates for 2021 to 22. Motion passed. Any other business? Motion, Franson, second, Newell to close the annual meeting at 10:35. Motion passed. John Schwant, supervisor, and Shirley Sanders. Oh, there's a correction on the bottom. Motion, John Kane to remove zoning administrator. Discussion to give situation 60 days to be addressed again. No action taken at this time.
All right, if there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Kathy, on that motion, on that correction, how did everyone vote?
It was just written on the bottom. I don't know, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay, because we had given Shirley the corrections at the April meeting. That's why I just wanted to make sure that she put it in there, because we didn't ever see the corrected version posted. So I just wanted to make sure that it was documented correctly, since
Yeah,
this is
that's-
an annual meeting and,
It was just handwritten on the bottom there.
okay.
She wanna look at the April minutes if there was a correction.
Well, the April minutes were even incorrect when they were documented, because in the April minutes it said, need to add the minutes to the minutes of the annual meeting that there was a discussion about hiring a new zoning administrator, but in fact it was a motion that was voted on by the board and the board all agreed, because it was an audio recording and you can hear everybody saying yay to it. So, and I had pointed that out to Shirley when she was doing the minutes as well, but that did not get corrected.
We can look into that. I'll make a note of that. So, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from last year's annual meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. to Supervisor's Annual Report. Got a list of road projects we're looking at. Big thing that we are looking at, McBride Road, the culvert that goes from across the street there that takes all the water and diverts it is failing. So they need to do some ditch work along McBride. That's along the south end of Cowden Lake on between, what was that, Black and Masters. So they want to redo the culvert and put a bigger culvert in and work on the ditching down through there. That's like a $13,000 project. We need to finish Black Road up, which is gonna cost us about, where's that one? I can write down the total. That was like $85,000. They're looking at, they need to do some culverts. We got some culverts to replace on Amble Road. Between Cody Lake, around Cody Lake area, there's about $19,000 worth there. One of the proposals was Black Road from South County line to Stanton Road down through there. That's a $100,000 possible project. First Street, up by the old school, that to redo that road's about $39,000. Out here on Amble Road and Kendallville on the curve, that blacktop's all chewing up where it washes out real bad. We're looking at an alternative idea for that and using limestone instead of asphalting. It would cost about half as much money, and they're finding Kent County's doing a lot of it, and Montcalm County started doing it now. It seems to hold up pretty good, so that's about a $48,000 project. Another proposal was Arbor Gas from McBride to Kendallville for about $91,000. Let's see. Oh, and then Grant Street here in town was to grind that up and repave it was about $4,800. So those are some of the possibles once we figure out the budget, and our road committee will figure out what we're going to go from there. Other than that, I don't have a bunch. Everybody's here. Everybody knows what's going on, so we'll keep moving. Report from the assessor. Don't see Michael didn't make it down. We only had, I don't think it was like eight reviews this year. Most of all of them were for military exemptions. If you're a disabled veteran, then you get your taxes reduced or whatever. So pretty much that's all there was for that. Report from the Planning Commission. Roger. Are you filling in for him, Andy?
I didn't know he wasn't gonna be present, but I can.
All right.
Planning Commission, we worked on the wind ordinance all year and had one special land use permit for a garage that was granted and sent on to the board for approval. And currently we are just waiting for our public hearing for the wind ordinance, and then it will be moving on to the county for review and then to the board to be voted
And
on.
it's April 7th.
And it's April 7th is the meeting with the public hearing. And that's pretty much
What time?
all we
on
did,
April?
all,
Just
pardon me?
the normal
It's at the
time?
regular time, 7 o'clock.
All right, thank you. And David, is he here, zoning? Huh, okay. So I don't know what he's got for, he usually has a compiled list for us here, so. Fire department, I give a synopsis.
We paid our 2 payments last year, and we're still waiting on the tanker trucks that we ordered. Everything's kind of backed up with all the businesses, trying to get the frames and the tanks all situated. That's about it.
All right, public comment about salaries for elected officials. Any public comment on the salaries?
As in,
Reviewing them? Changing them?
no change.
No change?
No.
Thank you. Otherwise, I'll entertain a resolution to approve the salaries as presented. We'll move.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the salaries as presented. Newell,
Yes.
Schwant, yes. Benson?
Yes.
Franson?
Yes.
And Bolton is absent. Motion passed. Any other new business?
Actually, can we skip back to just for a second? I just have a quick question. Under the clerk's salary, there's nothing for office supplies. Do we not allocate anything for office supplies for the clerk's position? Because I see that there's office supplies down for the treasurer, which obviously need to be paper and whatnot, but it just seems odd to have
We
a,
didn't for last year's budget either. It was.
and I'm just asking why. I mean, is it included in the salary that she buys supplies out of that?
Should be.
I would.
And that's what I wondered if it came out of someplace else.
It probably comes out of supplies for the township board because it's all in the same office.
Okay, and that's what I was asking, is if it was allocated under that account. Thank you, I appreciate the answer.
So then how do we know how much was spent in the year?
Comes out of that line item.
It comes out of the line.
But we
item.
still should have a balance at the end of the year, how much supplies were for just Kathy
Okay.
or June, doesn't matter.
All right, we can talk about that when we get to budget. All right, so no other business, let's, not close out, what do I wanna say, we don't wanna adjourn, we want to, I think she wrote that wrong. Let's pause the annual meeting and go to our budget hearing, can I get a motion to do that?
Move. Support.
Been moved and seconded to pause the annual meeting and go into our budget hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, budget hearing. So,
John, I've got a question here.
yeah,
I'm just a little confused on how this is, we're in the budget and we were voting on, the board was voting on salaries.
salaries are,
I mean, I thought that the electors had a vote on salaries, not the board.
they have to be approved by, it's gotta be approved by the board. The line items can be changed, but the salaries, you guys could have moved to increase them or leave them the same, and nobody wanted to do nothing. No comments were made.
I said,
You said leave them alone, yes. All right.
that's what I meant, leave them the
Yep.
same.
Robin said leave them the same, so we voted to leave them the same.
So can you explain to everybody about this annual meeting, like, that they have the right to make motions and vote on it too? I mean,
Right.
I don't know that everybody
Okay,
understands.
right.
about this.
So, well, right, there's, in the budget hearing here now, we can talk about the budget, people can vote, make motions to change line items and move things around. Our income is income, we can't do anything with that, but we can change the expenditures around. Salaries can't be lowered, they only can be raised or left the same, so that's just a mute topic, that's part of it before, so you do that before the budget hearing, because then you'll know when it gets into the budget part. So now we're getting into the budget, so everybody's got copies of the budget, there's copies circulating around, they've been online, so we can go through and look at that, if there's any changes or any requests anybody's got there, then we can entertain a motion to approve it, and you guys can, if you're a resident, a registered voter of Maple Valley Township, you can vote and make motions. So, is that,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that will help.
all right,
everybody.
So as you look down through, the only thing I can see that we forgot to do is that Dave requested a raise, and we talked about it a couple months ago. So under zoning administration, line 702, we talked about raising his raise to $52.80 a year, which would put him in line with all the other townships that are around here. So that'd be one suggestion I would make, that we do that. And then we'll take the money, probably, I would suggest we take it out of the professional services. We'll just take and drop it down out of there, that's $660. That'd be one suggestion I have. Other than that, I think everything looks pretty on course. I think we've worked it out pretty good compared to last year. I know people are questioning professional services. We've put money into that. We've got a couple lawsuits going with the Veterans Park in Trufen, and working on the Ferguson Drive, and we're still dealing with lawyers for the wind stuff. We also have FOIA requests that have been coming in left and right that we're gonna have to deal with. And a lot of that stuff is just technical enough that it's beyond our scope that we need the lawyer to work with us on it. So that's why we put money in there. We spent 38 last year, but we had to move money over to it because we didn't budget enough for it. We want to put enough in there this year to make sure we covered ourselves. And then towards the end of the year, if we still have money left over, we can use it for other projects if we need to. So, the money that's for the roads in the, which line is it for the general? Basically, when we write the budget up, when we come up with the budget, we figure out, here's our income's gonna be, so $312,000 for the year. Then we take and go our expenditures from everything, all the way down through, and then when we get to the end, whatever's left over, we put into our roads. So that's where we come up with our road budget at. So, we've got our 2 mills that we use for the roads that we can't touch. Those are only for the roads. Just like our mill for the fire department always used to pay the fire department fees. So that money is allocated, and which is 2 mills, so that's, where is that on it? What was the mill worth again, Kathy? 68,000 for a mill. So that leaves us, oh, where'd it go? I had all my notes wrote down, I left them at home, we had a car accident this morning, so I didn't get here till too late. So a mill is worth $71,524 going into this next year. So that gives us, 142,000 plus what we have left over to go into our, that's why whatever's left over from that is what, and then we use that for our roads, and then whatever's left over from our budget, we put into the roads, so. Anybody got any questions or answers, concerns?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay, the Veterans Park, can you tell us a little bit more about this lawsuit? Because I know that the family like gifted the township the property, but now the person who did it passed.
So 60 years ago, I believe it
Okay.
was.
Oh my lord.
The family, leased the township, the Veterans Park in Trufelton to the township for $1 for 100 years.
Okay.
As long as we maintain it and take care of it per his request. Well, the family says we're not doing that, to their standards, and now they want to take the park back over. So they want the property back. So they've taken the support now on that, and, so it looks like possibly, we've been trying to deal with an arbitrator, trying to go back and forth. It started with Mike Larson, he started out with it, and I've kind of inherited it now, so we've been going back and forth. COVID threw a big monkey wrench in it because the court kept kicking it out because they wanted, there was only certain cases they were hearing.
Yeah.
So it's now dragged out. So they're talking possibly now May, the end of May, actually having a court hearing where it'll go to a jury trial to decide if they can break the lease or not.
So there's my question is, would it just behoove the township to just say, you know what, enough is enough, and just, what is in the Veterans Park? I mean, is it just a stone monument? I mean, is there other physical attributes there that are not
Yeah, there's
movable?
the flag and the monuments and
Okay.
all that, and then the kid's step-grandfather, you know, a lot of it come down to, because the people of Trufelton always put the nativity scene up there.
Okay.
Which his grandpa helped build, or his step-grandpa, I should say, helped build 100 years ago, or whenever, the 60 years ago when they did this, you know, so they've been doing it for years and years, and that's what part of his fight was about on it, and so it's just, yeah, but
That's what my
there's a
question
principle
is.
to it, I think the biggest thing is why the board has decided to go, to keep the fight. I mean, it's
To
honoring
honor-
the kid's grandpa, I mean,
Okay.
it's part of it, but, and all the veterans of the area, so I hate to.
No, and I don't want to undo, I was just wondering if it would behoove the township to say, you know what, instead of in lieu of the fight, maybe we take it
Right.
and move it and put in honor the veterans by putting it on a piece of property that the township already owns, that they wouldn't have to worry about having to move it again.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, I'm throwing it out
It's a
there.
possibility, I mean, and that's what it could come down to if they decide that, you know, but I personally think it's a fight worth fighting a little bit. I don't think it's something we wanna give up on. I mean, that park's been there for 60 years
Have
and,
you ever been in the park?
I have, and
Have
that,
you
I'm
read the
just,
stone with all the names on it?
yes, and that's why I wanna make sure that that's still honored in there, but,
Well, if
you
they
know-
get their way, everything has to be moved. taken
yes.
so.
And that's why I was just asking, because I
you
didn't
know,
really understand the whole
We
scope
got the
of
one here
it.
in Coral for the Coral guys, and then we got the one down there for the True Front.
And then, moving on from that, I do have a couple questions about some line items on the budget.
Okay,
When I looked at last year's budget under 446, under the general fund of revenues, the SET, the $2.50 parcel fee, it was zeroed out. Now this year we have 12,000. Now my understanding is that that's something that has to be done every year, as far as like putting the paperwork in for the state education tax that we get back in revenue. So was it not done last year, and can you double up on it this year? I mean, is that why it's $12,000 in the budget item this year?
no, I'm not 100% sure. That's, I know Shirley and Michael took care of that to start with in June, so I'm not 100% sure how that all works.
Okay, I guess that was my question, because when I was looking at that, I just thought. it
And I don't
was-
know, last year with COVID, if some of that stuff got waived.
Well, there's a $2.50 parcel fee that the township is entitled to get back on parcels that pay the state education tax. And there's a form that has to be filed, and I don't know that you can file it at this point, but, you
Yeah, I don't know why
that's
it's-
a lot of, that's around, I would guess around $6,000 that the township would get.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know how that number works, that was the number that was given to me for this budget. We can check into it, I mean,
I just don't want us to count on $12,000 and it not be that much.
right,
I mean, especially since that's, revenue that we're looking at allocating to something else, and then, halfway through the year realize, oh crap, we're only getting $4,000, or
Right.
whatever it ends up being. That was just something that I was wondering about. I think that was, looking to see if there's. And then also, I did print off from the MTA, I don't know if you guys have reviewed the consensus adjustment stuffs for fiscal year 21-22 and then fiscal year 2023, about the adjustments for the state shared revenues. As far as, because it looks like we're gonna be getting less because we lost population in Maple Valley Township, because it was going by the 2020 census count. Some townships are getting, like more money because they've gained population, and others are getting less. And it's gonna go by the different payments and I don't understand all of it honestly.
and that's another number that's been issued to us by the state.
Yep, and that's what, because it looks like for fiscal year 21-22, we're gonna be less $11,113. And this is from the census thing from the state of Michigan, from the,
That
tax
hasn't
bureau.
been acted yet, right? No, just,
It will be starting in April. So you may have to call and ask, I'm not sure where you're gonna ask them the treasury, because they said that they'll start in April 22 to either if you're gonna get a
But they're gonna-
surplus, or if you may not get as much of a payment. So,
I see an email here not too long ago when they were talking about that, and I can't remember how. There was discussions in the state, in the legislation, and how they're gonna change to the new census or keep it off the old census. But I haven't
And-
seen nothing that says anything beyond that.
what I printed off, and like I said, this came from the MTA, I printed it off because it said for those that were having increased population, the increased adjustment will be retroactive to October 2020 and will be included in the April 2022 payment. For those townships that experienced a loss in population, the state is required to, quote, claw back, end quote, the overpayment retroactive to October 22, thereby reducing the April 2022 payment. So it may just be something, you know, again, I just printed this off and I wasn't quite sure if you guys had received any of it yet, because it was just put on there.
I got some emails the other day about it, but
And so I was just looking at what Maple Valley had, so it looks like we lost, I didn't see the exact number of how much we lost from population.
is that off their Friday thing that you got that off of?
This was actually, no, just right on their website when I
On the
logged
website
in.
itself?
Because there was a little thing, blip that goes through there, and it was talking about this, so that's what caught my eye, and I printed it off to read it to see, because I was curious to see what our census said.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we should possibly look at before, you know, some of the line items, just because if we're gonna have less payments coming from our state shared revenue, it just seems kind of silly to have large items budgeted and
Right.
then have to make a whole bunch of adjustments later. But that's all I had. I just had, that was it, I think, for right now.
Okay.
I'll let somebody else talk.
Yes, ma'am.
Were the tanker trucks purchased on a grant or
The
money?
fire district's buying them.
The Lakeview Fire District.
They are.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's on a grant or money?
No.
Money?
We've tried to get some grants, but
Yeah.
grants are pretty hard to get right now. We've applied for them.
We've got a grant for the generator, the electrical generator for Station 2,
Yeah.
and we got a grant for the, infrared,
No, we got for radios.
the radios.
So the radios. We got some handheld radios. So we've updated ones of those, and then, they put a standby generator in the Station 2
Okay.
down the True Fund.
And on the Ferguson Drive lawsuit, I believe the township was removed from that months ago.
I wish Kyle was here to explain it to you. We're still listed on it, we're still a viable part of it. Even though Vicky and, or not
Penny.
Vicky, yeah.
Penny.
Penny and Gordy, you know, said, oh, you guys aren't part of it. We took ourselves out of it, so we're not handling it, but we're still involved with it.
Not
So-
financially.
Yes, financially even, we can't get out of it financially. So,
Attorneys wrote letters to each other
I know that.
and stated that you had
But there's
withdrawn.
hopefully, we're not gonna have to spend any more money, but at this point.
You
there-
shouldn't.
We shouldn't, but,
Perfect. Perfect timing.
so,
Penny, isn't that township not involved with the Ferguson Drive lawsuit anymore?
They are not involved in trying to sue, but they still kept their names on it, so they're still paying Faby for all that. So yes, taxpayer money is going for all that, but they shouldn't be involved.
But they don't need to be?
No, they don't need to be, they weren't in it.
we can't get,
Okay.
the way that it's been explained to me, we cannot get out of it because we are named on the initial
Because they
suit.
chose to do it.
So, I don't know, that's all I can tell you, that's all I know. I'm not a lawyer, I don't know how all that stuff works.
Well, you're paying a
That's-
lawyer a lot of money.
Well,
I'd
we-
find out.
I'm sorry, when we get dragged into stuff, do you want me just to throw
You
and
didn't
go?
get dragged in, you chose to be on it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I think you're not making the $50,000 is a bigger deal than you're making it. Let's start, and I have just a statement I want to read. I didn't know we could make motions, so I want to make a motion after the statement. So what started out as a sales pitch from an out-of-state corporation has blown up into one of the biggest conflicts and wastes of money our township has ever seen. Maple Valley Township officials are proposing to spend an additional $50,000 taxpayer money on unnecessary attorney fees, doubling what they've needlessly spent for helping to write the wind ordinance. We have nothing to show for the wasted money except an ordinance that is highly unpopular with residents and will likely become void after a referendum. We might as well have taken our tax money, put it in a box, and burned it. The original budget for attorney fees and similar professional services for Maple Valley Township last year, which included the other lawsuits you were talking about, was $5,000. The township board ended up spending over 10 times that amount on attorney fees without any approval from the public. Again, we have nothing to show for this except an ordinance that looks a lot like the template ordinance Apex has been encouraging our neighbor communities to adopt. Residents cannot be expected to keep quiet as officials raise taxes and continue to spend so irresponsibly. When residents express legitimate concerns and get stonewalled in response, it's hard for us to build trust in the officials. Proposing to budget an additional $50,000 for attorney fees does not help build trust that you are good stewards of our finances. Taxpayer funds should be used to make improvements within the community, not on ridiculously expensive and unnecessary attorneys. People are forgiving, and it's never too late to right any wrongs. We should love our neighbors and be grateful for what we have rather than fall for a sales pitch promising a better community, when in fact what's been delivered is quite the opposite. We have a lot of healing to do as a township, and today you can choose whether we start that healing or the cut gets deeper. Thank you for listening.
Any other?
I'd like to make a motion. That's allowed, right? I'd like to make a motion that the professional expenditures be brought down to $15,000, which is an additional $10,000 from last year, to account for just things that are going to be happening, which I think is more than enough. It's irresponsible to spend any more than $15,000 on attorneys. I think most people would agree with that. So I'd like to make a motion to make professional expenditures $15,000, or budget $15,000 for this year.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to change the line item professional fees, 818 to $15,000. Who, Mike?
Who's the second?
Mike Paulson. Is there any other discussion?
What happens if we need the lawyer and then there's no money budgeted for it? What do we do
You
then?
only budgeted $5,000 last year.
Yeah.
But you're
Where are
talking
you
about
getting the 70,000? Where are you getting 60,000?
It's over.
I added it up,
It's over 50.
it's 57, over 57,000.
Our professional fees with, the report Kathy printed out was $39,244.14.
That was for Fagin.
No, that's actually,
That includes, Michael Beach's,
So why do you need 50?
oh, you got that. That includes Michael Beach's, our CPA services,
Why do you want to more than double the spending?
because we're getting a ton of FOIA requests,
You charged me for my FOIA request, or wanted to. You
but
wanted,
that doesn't cover half the fees. I mean, it's
you wanted me to
minimal.
pay the attorney in question to redact information to protect himself from the court members. It didn't seem right.
I'm sorry.
And what
that's-
I don't understand is, why aren't you or her enough to do the FOIAs instead of having to constantly send it to an attorney?
Because no matter what we're doing, we're scrutinized, we're picked over, and we're dealing with lawyers and papers and citizens. So we have to protect the township and ourselves to make sure that these are done correctly.
Make copies.
Who's protecting us? That's the fiscal year.
We have to
We are protecting you.
If I release something that I was not supposed to release, I can get in trouble with the board because I represent the board. So I'm in the middle.
Kathy, can you give me an example of something you shouldn't release?
Some of the lawyer stuff, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if there's a case in the township. I
Our
don't
money
know.
is paying for the lawyer.
I know.
It should
Is
be
there
public
classes that you can
information.
take to learn how to do a FOIA?
There might be. I don't know.
I'm sure there is. And I would greatly pay for you to go to a class and for you to go to a class to learn what the rights and the wrongs are about a FOIA instead of using the attorney at $50, $60, $70 an hour.
Oh, more.
Well, yeah.
Budgeted $5,000 last year, why don't we do $15,000 for this year? Can we vote on my motion?
They did.
Okay, I'll vote no.
We're
So
still
we're
in
making a
this-
cut here.
You know, you make a motion, someone seconds it, then it's open for discussion. We're in the discussion phase. When they get done discussing, if nobody has any more discussion, then we'll proceed to vote.
Can I clarify, I'm looking at 818 under planning, is all I see is 6,000, am I missing the legal?
No, that's under planning. We're looking under an expenditures on the front page of the township board.
Oh, township board. It's under township board and
50,000, got it.
is the account number.
Any other discussions? Yes, ma'am.
Just a question.
Just, so,
I'm gonna apologize, I came in late, so if this was already addressed, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna ask. The Maple Valley Complex, is that the bus garage?
yes, now, yes.
And that is gonna bring in $2,800 this year. Okay, so if it's gonna bring in $2,800 and the complex garage is also the bus garage? Is that the same? On the next page at the bottom, the complex garage, is that also?
Complex garage.
Right.
Okay, so it's gonna cost us $4,350 to maintain the garage, it's gonna bring in $2,800. I do believe, if I'm not wrong, the True Others asked about purchasing that to the school. Wouldn't it make more sense to liquidate that and get it off us? If we're gonna pay, if we're only gonna get $2,800 for it, and we're gonna pay $4,300 to maintain it?
We put the 4,000 in there in case there's something happens or there's something happens to the building, we need to have funds in there.
Okay, so,
So-
but still, if it's gonna cost more to have it, and do we pay
Right.
insurance on that building?
We have an umbrella policy that covers.
So what's the insurance if these people's stuff were damaged or that place was broken into?
They carry their own insurance on their stuff that's in there. We just carry insurance on the building, the people are liable for their own stuff on the inside.
Okay, so the insurance isn't included in the expenditures for this, but shouldn't part of that be, if you separate everything, I'm just asking, if you separate everything everywhere else, shouldn't what we pay for insurance be in there so that we know exactly? I mean, if we're taking in $2,800 and we're not making anything on it, why are we keeping it?
We didn't spend any money on it last year.
Right.
But you're proposing to spend $4,000 in maintenance
No.
and 300, okay,
We'll put it up-
possible.
well, possibly, if there was something to happen, then we need to, there's money in there to fix repairs.
And so then what happens with that $4,000 if we
Well,
don't use
like
it?
last year, at the end of the year, we paved the parking spots in Trufant with that money.
That's
Oh, that's where that comes
Oh,
from.
yes, here we go.
Yeah.
Just ask, Shirley said it, not anybody else.
It's not, she didn't say sneaky.
Yes,
smart.
Yes, she did.
She said,
Sneak around.
It was nice, we could sneak this
Okay.
project in.
Sneak around money. I got it right here on
All
a
right,
video.
no.
I'm not gonna argue with you,
No,
John.
I don't, quiet,
You know.
one person at a time.
Okay, so, as I said, I'm sorry I came in late.
That's fine. Glad you're here.
No, you're not.
That's
Well,
not
we're
straight.
good, Art. So, all right, but that's my question. So we're gonna continue to keep the bus garage and not,
I don't know why the bus garage didn't get sold with the school back at the time. I wasn't on the board at that
so
time.
can I make a motion that you sell the bus garage and liquidate it
We
from?
could look into that.
I
There's a
mean,
motion on the floor right now.
We're not,
We need to
relax,
finish the
we're
discussion.
talking, okay?
There's a
One
motion on the
per-
floor. She
I-
wants to make a motion.
Point of order.
She wants to make a
I,
motion.
we will talk about it, I am discussing that with her. Relax. Exactly. We can discuss that. We're working on this topic right now. When we get done with that, that's something we can talk about.
okay, now my next one is,
Is it to deal with his motion?
no,
Okay, then we have to finish his motion up, and then we can go from there.
and then you're gonna come back
Wait
to
a
me
minute,
and.
why
Sure.
don't they?
All right,
don't they
thank you.
finish-
All right,
have
anybody
no
else
idea.
got any comments or questions about changing the professional services to 15,000?
Okay, then in light of what you were just saying, if we're budgeting 50,000, that is just in case we need that much.
Exactly.
Then why not leave it alone? It doesn't mean we're gonna spend that much.
I agree
Because that
totally,
money could go to
but
something else.
that's not how.
And at the end of the year, it will go to something
Can I
else.
add something?
What is this thing you're
When it's your turn,
Attorney fees.
so,
Okay.
Snuck on some parking
The
spots.
Yeah.
kids are playing on parks that are falling apart, haven't been updated in decades. Did you put in the application for the extra money from the county for COVID?
we're gonna discuss that when we get back in the annual meeting.
So you haven't. Okay, the reason we don't wanna, first of all, you budgeted 5,000 last year and spent it anyway. So this doesn't even matter if you're budgeting for it. We have other things to spend money on. The point of the taxpayers paying money is so we can improve our town. We don't wanna spend money on the lawyers. So can we please vote on changing to $15,000, which is realistic, to same people?
Any other questions about this motion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. Anyone that's a registered voter in Maple Valley Township can vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
I,
Motion passed.
that's ridiculous.
So, there is no clapping, please. We're all here together. We don't need that. Thank you. All right, anybody else have any other questions on the budget?
Yes.
Ms.
I would
Peters?
like to back up to the Veterans Park problem. I didn't want to interrupt Andy, so, because she had other items to do. If it comes down to we need to move the Veterans Park statues and things, I have lost track over the years. I know in the pile of paperwork I have from Mark, there is something about the park. And if I'm not mistaken, the family deeded it to you for 100 years for 99 cents or whatever. This I've discussed with my daughter, and when that time comes up, she will be giving that property to the township. Is there a chance when that, Rachel, just I'll say that you own it now, because we're giving it to you anyways. Could the veterans stuff be moved to Peterson Park and placed someplace within the park to honor it still, or is that a consideration that you
It could be,
do?
I mean, yeah,
If it comes to that.
if it comes to that.
Because I wasn't sure if, like I said, it's in the paperwork, I've got it marks, and it was a pile I'm still going through. So I haven't found it yet, but I don't think it's been given to you yet. I think you're still doing.
Right, it's a lease, or a lease
Okay.
for 100 years, lease, or 99 years, something like that.
Well, since we want to give it to the community anyways, is that something that could be done now? Get it out of the way?
Yeah, you can do that
Okay,
anytime you
all
want
right.
to, yeah.
But, so the park is open for an option as a place to put it if you need to.
Right.
Please feel free. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now, I don't know how all this works, so now I made a motion to.
You would like to make a
I would
motion.
like to make a motion, I'm sorry. I would like to make that motion, but I still have two other things after that, so does that get done now? And I didn't realize what Tyler was talking about wasn't done, or I wouldn't have jumped to another subject.
Appreciate that.
So, can a motion be made to sell the bus garage?
Look into selling the bus garage, yes.
Yes.
We can do that.
Would you make, I make a
You're
motion,
making
would
the
somebody
motion.
second it?
There's support.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to look into selling the bus garage. Is there any discussion?
Is there a reason to hang on to it?
The way I understand it, they thought it was gonna make money, which I mean it does. We bring in $2,500, $3,000 a year. You know, but it needs some work done to it. It needs to have some paint jobs done to it. We put a new door in it 2 years ago, you know, just little things, but
So there's really no,
I don't have a problem with it, because I spend a lot of time up there putting stuff in it and taking stuff out and dealing with all that, so.
there's really no plan for something in the future that, we wanna make it into something?
No. Yes,
What is it used for now?
just the storage facility. People can store their boats and pontoons and motorhomes and all that in there.
And what's the charges to do that?
$2 a linear foot per month. So we usually figure it out as a 6 month lease, because that's when people pretty much, they put stuff in the fall and take it out in the spring. So basically it works out to $12 a foot. So if their boat's 20 foot long, it's $240 to put it in there for the 6 months. Which is,
full?
or yes, over full. There's 3 garage doors, and I got 3 rows of 4, so there's 12 things in there right now. So we just have people drop it. My son and I and another guy, we take them back stuff in there with our tractor and sneak it in there, and we pack it up pretty full.
Because basically only used about 6 months out of the year, 6, 8 months.
I got a couple guys that leave, like they drop their pontoon boat off, and then they store their pontoon boat in there for the summer, so they'll put some stuff in there. Never had too much interest in summer stuff in there, only is winter. Years and years and years ago, business rented it. They were moving their business from south of Grand Rapids to north of Grand Rapids, and they stored all their equipment in there for the winter. Then after that, we just started renting it out as a, you know, just like renting the hall. It's just a short-term rental kind of gig.
So basically, you would actually make more money if you sold it for a period of time.
I mean, technically possible, yeah,
$2,800 a year.
Wouldn't
Right.
be the expenditure.
right. So, any other questions?
On.
The hope, I think, would be that private citizens would be more interested in having the business part of our council. I've often looked at the Pete's Garage next door and wondered how many businesses could have been in there if the council kind of thought that. Kind of a prime real estate in the middle of our town.
We actually have a buyer, the county would like to buy that building from us, so we,
Yeah, I don't think that would, I think consider private citizen would buy it and actually bring some kind of business in. I think it's exciting for the township and town private real estate. I think. Because Pete had that business over there, and he had a lot of revenue moving around here.
Why is my listed?
okay, thank you.
With the bus garage topic, can I clarify how people go about renting it? Because I wasn't able to locate like a form to fill out or a fee schedule or anything.
Pretty much everybody returns year after year after year has been the formula with it, so.
Do
I
they
haven't
reach
had-
out to you?
They reach out to me and say, yep, I want to, or when they take their stuff out in the spring, so I'll be back in the fall, so. That's how we've always done it, just ran it. There's no sense of advertising because it's already full. I mean, I've got, so, and I hate to kick those guys out to put in a new guy, you know, kind of a deal, so.
And that was even prior to you being supervisor?
Yeah, I've done that
Handling
for,
it?
since they bought the complex, I think, pretty much. So, put a lot of hours in that building, so. Any other discussion?
Was trash cleanup.
We're
Gotta make the motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting-
Nope, 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 nope,
I don't know about fast bus guys. The motion says we'll look into it, that looks like a loophole, why don't they decide to sell it?
Well, we weren't gonna decide to
no.
sell
We're
it,
gonna vote
but,
it.
right, it has to go through a process. You can't just, yep, we're gonna sell them, it's sold. What if somebody only offers us $5 for it?
I'll give you
You
10.
set the price.
I'll double
Right.
it.
You'll double it? All right.
I'll give you 100.
Yes, it is a loophole in your terminology, yes. So we'll discuss it, we'll look into it, and come up with a process.
Thank you.
Anyone?
Here's the second on the motion.
I'll
Like three
second.
people.
Uh,
Vicky wasn't.
I thought Vicky did. So, any other discussion on looking into selling the bus garage in
Can
Truva?
we put a date on that?
Take your water.
When
I
we have.
can't swallow my pill with my coffee. I tried twice.
Like, to sell
You
it?
guys are busy, I know you are.
Well,
Right.
I mean, like, put a date on it to sell by?
No, to report back whether we're gonna sell it by, or sell it,
Oh, I think so.
We need to do it in a couple months.
Well, give us a little more time, that by the time you get a realtor involved or try to figure out anything like that, it's gonna be, it's not just a 5-minute process.
dragged out for a couple of
Oh,
years.
don't use a realtor. Yeah,
And
why
then
do you
the
have to use a realtor?
Everything costs money, I'm sorry.
And the
But
current
why
people-
use a realtor? Just put a for sale
the current
sign
people
on
that are in
it.
there have
I
already
would
paid their
just, I would
rent.
buy it for fair market value. As owning the school, we could put a deal on it, we'll make it nice.
Yeah,
Plus with your
Well,
timeline,
right.
you need to be fair to the people that
Can
are
you
already
get
in
much-
there, they gotta
can
get
you
out
add-
first.
Add your motion to review in 6 months, within the next 6 months.
How about I add review to the time they pull their stuff out for the summer, that way they don't have time to put it back in for the fall. 6 months, you're gonna give them time to say they want it back for
Okay.
the fall, and you're gonna drag it on.
Give us
So,
till,
till the June meeting. My
let's
motion
say,
is
let's
till
say
the June
July,
meeting.
July
meeting.
June.
All right,
Everybody puts
June.
it in Memorial Weekend.
June meeting. All right, can you adjust that, please, then? So the motion reads to look into selling the bus garage between, and reporting back at the June meeting.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussions?
I think what I'm hearing is that the people want you to vote on selling it.
That's what
That's
we're
what we're
talking
trying to
about.
do.
right?
That's what they're talking about right now.
Right,
Okay.
so. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Next one was trash cleanup brought up for townwide trash service, that was supposed to
We
be.
budgeted money for it.
You did budget money,
We
so
did budget.
we will definitely be having a trash.
Yes,
Okay, I didn't see it in here, I just tried to real quick look.
it's under.
What's budget on?
Remember where it's under?
Sanitation. Is that it, John, under sanitation on the second
That's
to
not
last
enough.
page?
Well, it's not enough.
Well, it says trash pickup, sanitation,
No,
801.
Is that our annual
That's our,
trash pickup?
that's the
That's
dumpster.
it, regular trash pickup, okay.
I didn't see it in here, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, 'cause I know when we talked about it, I remember Shirley putting it in there when she,
Yeah, I don't see it on here.
Why was Shirley doing it?
Shirley still helps maintain, and she's her deputy. Shirley's helped me with the budget every year, so I work with Shirley to do the budget again.
Yeah, I'm just asking, because we haven't seen Shirley since she resigned. So, that, just wondered if that
It's
was.
a legitimate conversation.
No, we're not doing something without the township knowing. Oh, where is it?
It's not a quorum when people gather. It's illegal. It's not in here.
If it's not in here, can a motion be made to put it in here?
Yes.
I'm just asking him, he's the supervisor.
Just one moment, please. I just gotta remember which line item it is. I don't remember right off either, and I can't remember where. But I know there was $4,000, I believe is what we figured it is.
The only 4,000 I've seen is for your drain commission.
Yeah, that's her.
No, that's-
That's it.
Well, Kathy should be doing it now, shouldn't they?
Can it be motioned or whatever that the $4,000 be put in
We'll
under
make sure that
sanitation?
it's in here, yeah, we can do that. I just not sure which